My family said I ruined their lives, so I left. But a couple of days later, they are begging me to reconcile. I'm 24 and had been living with my parents and two younger brothers since graduating college. I was saving money for my own place while working as a nurse at the hospital downtown. Every month, I paid $800 in rent, plus bought groceries and helped with bills. My mom didn't work and my dad's construction business was struggling. My brothers Jake and Ryan were 19 and 17, both still living at home doing absolutely nothing. Jake dropped out of community college after one semester and Ryan barely graduated high school. Neither of them had jobs. They'd sleep until noon, play video games all day, and leave their mess everywhere. I'd come home after a 12-hour shift and find the kitchen destroyed, their laundry piled up, dishes in the sink for days. My mom would always say boys will be boys and I shouldn't be so uptight about it. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in March. I'd worked a double shift, 16 hours straight, and came home exhausted around midnight. The house was completely trashed. Pizza boxes on the floor, empty soda cans everywhere. Someone had spilled something sticky all over the kitchen counter and just left it there. I lost it. Started yelling about how I was tired of being the only responsible person in this house. My dad came downstairs and told me to lower my voice, said I was being dramatic and that I should be grateful they even let me live there. Let me live there, like I wasn't paying rent, like I wasn't buying most of the food. My mom chimed in saying I'd always been difficult and ungrateful since I was little, that my attitude was stressing everyone out and making the house environment toxic. Jake actually laughed and said maybe I should just leave if I hated them so much. Ryan nodded along, didn't even look up from his phone. I stood there in my scrubs covered in who knows what from the hospital and just felt empty. My dad said I was ruining their family dynamic with my constant complaints, that ever since I started making decent money, I'd gotten a superiority complex. I went upstairs, packed 2 suitcases with my important stuff, and left that night. Drove to my friend Amanda's apartment and slept on her couch. The first day, nothing. No texts, no calls. I figured they were happy to have me gone. The second day, my mom called once, but I didn't answer. Left a voicemail asking where I put the grocery money for the week. Not asking if I was okay, just where the money was. Day 3 is when things got interesting. My dad called me 6 times. I finally answered, and he asked when I was coming back because the mortgage payment was due, and they were short. I reminded him I'd already paid my rent for the month before I left. He said they'd use that money for other things, and expected me to cover the mortgage like I usually did. I told him I never agreed to pay their mortgage, just my share of rent. He got quiet, then said we'd talk about it later. Day 4, Jake called me crying, actual crying, said they had no food in the house and mom was refusing to cook anything because she was too stressed. He asked if I could at least send money for groceries. I said no, and hung up. That evening, all 3 of them showed up at Amanda's apartment. My mom was crying, dad looked exhausted, and my brothers both looked like they hadn't showered in days. Dad said they needed me to come home, that they didn't realize how much I actually did around the house. Mom admitted she didn't know how to pay the electric bill online and it was about to get shut off. Jake said they'd run out of toilet paper and nobody knew where I bought it from or how much to get. Ryan just stood there looking uncomfortable. I asked them if they remembered calling me ungrateful, dramatic, and toxic just 4 days ago. Dead silence. Amanda was watching this whole thing from her kitchen, trying not to laugh. I told them I'd come back on my conditions. Jake and Ryan both get jobs within 2 weeks or they start paying me $400 each per month for rent. Mom learns to handle the household bills and grocery shopping. Dad stops expecting me to cover his business expenses. And everyone cleans up their own mess. No more boys will be boys excuse. My dad tried to argue, but my mom actually agreed to everything. She said they'd been eating cereal for 2 days because nobody knew how to work the stove properly. The electricity was getting shut off tomorrow and she'd been panicking. I moved back in the following week. Jake got a job at the auto parts store and Ryan started working at the movie theater. My mom now handles all the bills and actually learned to budget. My dad stopped asking me for money. The house stays clean because everyone finally does their part. Best part, my brothers both apologized about a month later, said they didn't realize how much work I was doing while they did nothing. I'm still saving for my own place, but at least now I'm not doing it while being called ungrateful.